I live in Chicago and I use a bicycle as my main form of transportation. Here are 6 quick tips I have picked up that make my bike commuting experience a little more comfortable. Tip number 1, bring something to cover your seat when you park it in the rain. When I know I will be parking my bike outside and the weather is even slightly overcast, I make sure to bring something to tie over my seat in case it rains. I've gotten my bottom wet too many times, and packing a plastic grocery bag in my backpack is incredibly low effort. Tip number 2, remember that you're going to get sweaty. In the summer or even in cooler weather, you're probably going to get a little sweaty after biking. If you're going somewhere that appearance matters, make sure to plan ahead such that you'll look presentable. Sometimes I even bring paper towels or a change of clothes with me where I'm going to deal with the sweat. Tip number 3, get a practical bike. I wanted a cool racing bike that I see lots of people using, but after a 2-minute test ride, my back started hurting from hunching over. I have a commuter bike with upright posture, which is very comfortable. Finding one with a rear rack can also be incredibly helpful. I'm able to carry a whole week's worth of groceries with a combination of a backpack and my side fold out basket. It's a walled 582 if you're interested. Electric bikes may be a good option as well, but they may also be more of a liability. So make sure to be honest about what you really need from a bike in the city. You don't need a $2,000 bike just to get around town. It's asking to get stolen. Also, make sure to consider where you're going to store your bike, especially considering elevators. Folding bikes or light single speeds can be good options in certain circumstances. Tip number 4, get a bike bell. Pedestrians will often walk into the bike lane without looking, and people often disregard the bike and pedestrian lanes on the lakefront trail. A bike bell is absolutely perfect as a way of signaling to people to say, hey, get out of the way, in an unobtrusive, respectful manner. You encounter plenty of hardcore cyclists on the lakefront that don't have a bell, and they're constantly having to say, on your left, which must get exhausting. Tip number 5, carry work gloves with you. This is an optional tip, but it has saved me numerous times. In cases where your chain comes off the gear, it's usually a quick fix, but in fixing it, your hands will become absolutely caked in grease. I carry a pair of old work gloves in my backpack that I can easily throw on when this happens. One would imagine that the city is smooth terrain, but you'd be surprised with all the potholes and road construction how often you get massive bumps that might derail your chain. Tip number 6, learn to live with the fact that you're going to have to put up with some nonsense as a cyclist in Chicago. American cities are built for the car, and much of Chicago is no exception. You're going to have to deal with people speeding, cutting you off, roadblocks in the bike lane, cars honking at you, not being able to find an open spot at a bike rack, and pretty much everything else you could possibly imagine. That being said, probably 95% of the time, biking is great, and it's the best way of getting around town. Dealing with minor or major inconveniences is just part of cycling and part of life. While we don't have to love those inconveniences, and we certainly shouldn't stop fighting to make things better, being bitter all the time is no fun for anyone. The sooner you're able to let go of that grudge you've been holding against that one Jeep driver, the sooner you'll be able to relax and appreciate how wonderful it is to bike in Chicago. So, those are my 6 quick tips. If you have any of your own that you'd like to share, please feel free to drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching.